Okay, so you want to buy a self-storage facility. Build a row of metal boxes on a piece of cheap land. Rent them out by the month. Watch the auto-pay deposits hit your account on the first of every month. No employees standing on the floor. No customers walking through the door. No inventory you ever have to restock. It is probably the second most famous passive income idea in America, right behind the laundromat we covered last time. But here is the strange part. Self-storage has one of the highest operating margins of any real estate asset class in the entire country. Higher than apartments, higher than office, higher than retail. And yet 4 of the 5 largest operators in the United States are public companies worth a combined $90 billion, and they spend almost every single waking hour figuring out new ways to push the small, independent owner out of the business. By the end of this video, you will know exactly where a storage facility's money actually comes from, why the customer who plans to stay 3 months ends up staying 3 years, and why the most dangerous neighbor any storage owner can have is the one with a purple sign. Self-storage facilities come in 3 sizes, and they are almost 3 different businesses. At the bottom is the small rural or suburban conversion. 50 to 150 units in a converted barn, an old industrial shed, or a single-story purpose-built row on a quiet stretch of road. No staff, a keypad at the gate, a phone number on a sign. You can get into one of these for somewhere between $500,000 and $2 million. It is the closest thing to the passive income fantasy that actually exists in this asset class. In the middle is the mid-tier purpose-built facility, 300 to 500 units. Climate control in part of the building, a manager on site 5 days a week, a small office at the front, and a clean website with online rentals. Expect to spend $2 million to $8 million to buy or build one. At the top is the large multi-story climate-controlled facility, the kind you see going up at every major intersection in every growing city in America. 800 to 1,500 units, full climate control, security cameras on every aisle, online rentals, dynamic pricing software, and a marketing budget. These run anywhere from $10 million to $40 million. And at that price point, you are not really competing with the operator down the street. You are competing with Public Storage, Extra Space, and CubeSmart. And there are 2 completely different ways in. You can build a facility from scratch, which means buying the land, getting it rezoned, going through 18 to 24 months of entitlement and construction, and then another 2 to 3 years of lease-up before the building stabilizes. Or you can buy an existing facility, which the industry usually prices at somewhere between a 5 and a 7% cap rate, which translates to roughly 14 to 20 times its annual net operating income. Building gets you a new building. Buying gets you a customer base that is already in place and already paying. So where does the money actually come from? On the surface, the answer is simple. A standard 10 by 10 unit rents for somewhere between $140 and $200 a month, depending on the city and whether it has climate control. Multiply that by the number of units, multiply by your occupancy rate, and you have your revenue. But that surface number hides the real engine of this business. The industry target for a stabilized facility is 92 to 94% occupancy. That part is well understood. What is less well understood is what happens to the rate after the customer signs. Here is the entire trick. Almost every storage facility in America advertises a move-in special. $1 for the first month, 50% off for 3 months, free truck, and a free lock. The customer thinks they are walking in to store some Christmas boxes during a move, or a couch they cannot fit in their new apartment for 90 days, so they sign. Then 90 days later, the rate moves to the normal street rate. The customer notices. They do not love it, but they do not love unloading the unit on a Saturday morning either, so they pay. Then 6 months after that, a polite notice arrives in the mail. Your rate is going up 12%. Then 6 months after that, another notice, 12%. By the time the customer finally cleans out the unit, the average tenancy is not 3 months. It is closer to 14 months. The rate they are paying when they leave is often twice the rate they walked in at. And the storage they thought they needed for 90 days, they paid for during 4 full seasons of forgetting about it. That is the reframe that changes how you see this entire business. Self-storage is not a storage business. It is an inertia business. You are not really selling cubic feet inside a metal box. You are selling the small monthly cost of postponing a decision about a pile of stuff the customer will never open again. Every dollar of rate creep you can layer on without triggering a move-out is pure margin. And every single ancillary product you can attach on the way in, the tenant insurance policy you resell at a markup, the disc lock the customer has to buy at the counter, the late fee on day 5, the truck rental kickback from U-Haul, the boxes and tape on the wall is revenue with almost no cost behind it. That is why this asset class has the margins it has. And that is why the people who are best at it are publicly traded companies with thousands of facilities each. Now, the costs nobody warns you about. The biggest one is property tax. When you buy a stabilized facility, the price you pay tells the county exactly what the property is now worth, and your tax bill gets reassessed accordingly. A spreadsheet that pencils out at a 7% cap rate based on the prior owner's old assessment can collapse to a 4.5% cap rate the moment that reassessment hits. New buyers miss this constantly. The seller does not tell you. The broker does not tell you. The county tells you about 10 months after closing in an envelope. Then there is the cost of getting the customer in the door, which has changed completely in the last 10 years. Almost nobody drives past a self-storage facility and walks in to rent a unit anymore. They search online. They compare prices on Sparefoot or Sparefoot's parent company. They click on a Google ad. And every one of those channels takes a cut. Online aggregators commonly take 7% of the first month's rent for every lead they send. Google Ads in a competitive metro can run several $100s in spend for every rental you actually book. For a small independent operator, marketing can quietly run 8 to 12% of revenue, and the REITs can outspend you on every keyword that matters. Then there is bad debt. 5 to 7% of every dollar billed at a typical storage facility never actually arrives. Customers stop paying. The lock gets cut. The unit goes to auction under the state's self-storage lien law, which is a real legal process and is also the reason a television show called Storage Wars exists. The auction recovers some of the value, but never all of it. And the unit sits empty for the weeks the legal cycle takes. And then there is climate control, which is exactly what it sounds like. A heated and air-conditioned building full of empty units that you are conditioning 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, whether anybody has rented them or not. So if self-storage has such strong margins, why do small operators still lose money on them? 2 mistakes, and they show up over and over. Mistake 1 is buying or building in an oversupplied submarket. Between roughly 2017 and 2022, the storage industry went through one of the largest supply booms in its history. The national average sits somewhere around 7 square feet of storage per person. But certain metros, parts of Texas, parts of the Carolinas, parts of Florida, pushed past 11 square feet per person, and in some submarkets, even higher. When supply runs that far ahead of demand, lease-up on a new facility stretches from 2 years to 4 years, and rates have to be discounted just to fill the empty units. You can do everything right and still bleed money for years because the math of the submarket was broken before you ever signed the loan. Mistake 2 is trying to compete on rate with the real estate investment trusts. Public storage operates more than 3,300 facilities in the United States. Extra Space Storage, which acquired Life Storage in July of 2023 for $12.7 billion, now operates more than 4,000. CubeSmart adds another roughly 1,300. These companies own the customer's friction at scale. They have dynamic pricing software that adjusts every rate every week based on local demand. They have the entire top of the Google search results, and they can run a move-in special at a loss for 6 months in your submarket specifically, just to fill their building before you fill yours. A small independent who sets up shop within a mile of a purple sign and tries to compete on price is bringing a knife to an artillery duel. The operators who win do not compete on rate. They compete on submarket selection and on operations. They find the secondary or tertiary markets the REITs have not bothered to enter. They buy tired, badly marketed facilities, put them online, add a real revenue management system, raise rates on existing customers a couple of points at a time, and quietly compound. The asset is forgiving when you pick the right submarket. It is brutal when you do not. So here is the entire business in one line. Unit count times occupancy times rate creep times ancillary revenue minus the property tax reassessment minus the ad budget the REIT will always outspend. Every healthy facility is those numbers stacking up. Every failed one is at least one of them quietly collapsing. So how much do you actually make? Scenario 1. You buy a small rural facility for $1,200,000. 100 units, single story, no climate control, a keypad at the gate. It grosses around $220,000 a year. After taxes, insurance, software, online ads, and bad debt, you net somewhere between $90,000 and $110,000. It is genuinely close to passive. A few hours a week of remote management, the occasional drive out for a broken gate. But understand what you actually bought, not a salary, a yield. That is roughly a 5 to 6 year cash payback and a return on your money that is solid, but not life-changing. Scenario 2. You buy or build a 500-unit urban climate-controlled facility for $7 million. It grosses $1.1 million a year at stabilization. After everything, including $80,000 a year, you are now spending on Google Ads just to keep occupancy at 92%. You net somewhere between $700,000 and $800,000. That is a strong yield and a 3 to 4 year cash payback. But you did not buy passive income. You bought a real business with a marketing budget, a revenue management system, an on-site manager, and 3 publicly traded competitors operating within driving distance. And if you keep going, if you buy the second facility, and the 5th, and the 10th, the way the real operators do, self-storage stops being a passive income idea entirely. It becomes what it secretly was the whole time. A real estate portfolio whose customers pay rent every month for the right to never look at their own belongings again. So if you decide to buy a self-storage facility, just remember the one thing every successful owner figures out eventually. The storage was never the business. The forgetting was.